Hello everyone, my name is Sarafi and I'm happy to meet you all. And today we're going to be playing Time Thieves. Time Thief is a new deck that has come out in the box and it's pretty cheap. There are no Time Thief URs, and one of the main boss monsters for Time Thieves is included in the skill as opposed to being a card you have to get from the box. So you can make Time Thieves with one run through the box, and really you don't need too much. You just need one of Perpetua and two Winders, so that's 3 copies of an SR, and then the rest of the cards are all rare and neutral. So really good cheap deck that's very powerful right now. The skill is called Time Thief Crossbeat. You can use this skill's second effect once per turn and twice per duel. At the beginning of the duel, add 1 Time Thief Redoer to your extra deck. During this duel, you cannot normal or special summon, excluding special summons from the extra deck, any monsters except for Time Thief monsters. And then you can reveal 1 Time Thief Psychic monster or 1 Time Thief startup in your hand, add 1 Time Thief Machine monster or 1 Time Thief startup from your deck to your hand. But if your opponent controls no cards, you must shuffle 1 card from your hand into the deck. So, helps you set up going first, really good value going second, and then it also is a follow-up ability because you can do it twice. Now, for the main deck, we have Time Thief Winder, level 4 Dark Psychic monster, 1800 attack, 1300 defense. You can detach 1 material from an Xyz monster you control to special summon this card from your hand. If this card is normal or special summon, you can add 1 Time Thief card from your deck to your hand, except Time Thief Winder. You can only use each effect once per turn. Cool. So this will let you get your Time Thief Retrograde, so you have a searchable counter trap, which is always insane. Winder is a fantastic card. You always have access to it, because even if you don't open the card, you will get it off of your skill and Regulator. So the deck is extremely consistent because of Regulator's ability and the fact that Regulator is always in your opening hand, and Winder is going to make your deck much sturdier. Next up, we are playing 1 copy of Time Thief Bezel Ship. This is a level 4 Dark Machine monster. As a quick effect, you contribute this card, target 1 Time Thief Xyz monster you control, attach 1 card from your opponent's graveyard to that monster as material. If this card is in your graveyard, you can detach 1 material from the Xyz monster you control to special summon this card, but you banish it when it leaves the field. You can only use each effect once per turn. So, we play 1 copy of Bezel Ship so that we can mill it with our Time Thief Adjuster. While you have your Xyz monster on the board, Bezel Ship comes back as an additional material so you can Xyz summon a second time. And it's important for our end board. You'll see it in the replay. We are playing 3 copies of Time Thief Regulator. This card is insane. A level 4 Dark Machine monster. If you control no other monsters, you contribute this card to special summon 2 Time Thief monsters with different names from your deck in defense position except Time Thief Regulator. If you have ever watched Raid Raptor plays in Master Duel, or any long combo that involved a Dark Xyz monster, usually a Force Strix, you will know that Regulator is the card that starts it all. This is an absurdly powerful ability, and in our deck it's primarily used just to set up a rank 4, but it also triggers every other Time Thief's effect, so you can really get your turn started. You can search this card with the skill, or you can summon it from your hand with your Time Thief startup, whatever you want to do. When an Xyz monster you control is destroyed by battle while this card is in your graveyard, you can special summon this card, but banish it when it leaves the field. You can only use each effect of Time Thief Regulator once per turn. Now, it's important to note for follow-up turns that you need to have 2 monsters with different names left in your deck. So, if you're going to mill your Bezel Ship, and you're going to summon your Winder and your Adjuster, and Regulator can't special summon itself, that leaves basically just Winder, Adjuster, and Chrono Quarter. So you have to be kind of careful if you open a copy of Chrono Quarter or another Winder in your hand. Might be difficult for you to actually use your Time Thief Regulator a second time. This is a really good card. Next up, we have Time Thief Adjuster. This is a level 4 Dark Psychic monster. If you normal or special summon a Time Thief monster except Adjuster, except during the damage step, you can special summon this card from your hand. That's pretty good. If this card is normal or special summon, you can send one Time Thief card from your deck to the graveyard, except Adjuster. You can only use one Adjuster effect per turn, and only once that turn. So, you will summon this card off of from your deck with Regulator and use its effect to mill Bezelship, and then, next turn, you can summon this card for free if your normal summon gets, messed with, or if you need to play it off of startup, something like that. Lastly, we are playing Time Thief Chrono Quarter. This is a level 4 Dark Machine monster. During your opponent's battle phase, as a quick effect, you contribute this card. The next battle damage you take from an opponent's monster attack this turn is inflicted to your opponent instead. That's a really interesting effect. Pretty useful. I like this card, and it's a good card to special summon off of Perpetua. If a face-up Xyz monster you control leaves the field by card effect while this card is in your graveyard, except during the damage step, you can special summon this card, but banish it when it leaves the field. You can only use each effect once per turn. So this is like, if your opponent can't take one of their own attacks, then this just ends the battle phase. And if you have some sort of quick burn effect, then you can potentially just set this up and then try and bait your opponent into attacking you directly for like 3,000, and then maybe you can burn them for 1,000 or something like that afterwards. It almost makes me want to play Magic Cylinder in this deck because of how much that would catch people off guard. It's a really, really good card. I took this list from Serena, who I'll link her channel in the description below. One of the things that I might adjust about this list is I might put some burn cards in the deck to synergize better with Chrono Quarter. Back row, we're playing 2 copies of Book of Moon. This could be Book of Eclipse. I don't think that Book of Eclipse is really that good of a card to play if you're playing an Xyz deck, because it can hurt you a lot. But it's really good going first, and it's really good to kind of set yourself up for success going second. Your mileage may vary. If you prefer Eclipse, then just play Eclipse. 3 copies of Forbidden Lance. This is very important for basically every Synchro and Xyz deck. You just want to make sure that your materials aren't messed with, because your materials are going to be the main thing that people are targeting. Time Thief Startup. Quick play spell, special summon 1 Time Thief monster from your hand. During your main phase, you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target 1 Time Thief Xyz monster you control, attach 3 Time Thief cards of different types, 1 monster, 1 spell, and 1 trap from your graveyard to that monster as material. You can only use 1 Time Thief Startup effect per turn, and only once that turn. It's important for us to play Time Thief spells, because we need a way to get a spell onto our Redoer, and Perpetua can do this for us. Startup is really good. It's a good way to either cheat Regulator out or allow Regulator to kind of be bait and then maybe special summon, I don't know, Bezel from your hand and then use your Adjuster to come out so you can Xyz summon again. You need options. And if Regulator is going to be your normal summon, then Startup is your way to make sure that that normal summon isn't your only play. So this card you can search with the skill. You're going to play 3 of it because you can reveal it as cost for the skill. This is a very, very powerful effect. We are playing 1 copy of Time Thief Flyback. This card is a very bad card with a very good banish effect. So the primary effect of this trap card is target 1 Time Thief Xyz monster you control, attach 1 Time Thief card from your hand or deck to it as material. It's not good. It does have cool art. This is Redoer holding Perpetua as they escape the time stream or something like that. Pretty cool. But the grave effect is really good. You can banish this card from your graveyard, target 1 Time Thief Xyz monster you control, and attach 1 card from your opponent's graveyard to it as material. Now, since this is a trap card, you can do this during your opponent's turn. So, what you'll do is you will use Perpetua to attach Time Thief Flyback to Redoer from your deck. Then, Redoer will use its effect to detach a trap card and banish or return 1 card the opponent controls to the top of their deck. Then Flyback is in the graveyard so that you can use that as additional disruption, basically like a DD Crow. Is a DD Crow that also banishes a card from your opponent's side of the field good? Yes, that's very good. Yes, you can open this card in your opening hand. That's unfortunate. But the skill lets you put it back into your deck. So I don't think this is a problem. The ability to shuffle a card from your hand back into your deck, either Bezelship or Flyback that you really want in your deck, is really nice. I actually think that's not a drawback of the skill. I think it's fantastic. Lastly, for the main deck, we are playing Time Thief Retrograde at 2. When a spell or trap card is activated while you control a Time Thief Xyz monster, negate the activation, and if you do, attach that card to a Time Thief Xyz monster you control as material. So this is a negate that will remove the card from the field without destroying it. That is very beneficial. There are some spells and traps that get benefits if they are destroyed, so you don't want them to necessarily be destroyed. This will be a great way for you to deal with, in particular, effects like Unchained. You don't want to deal with cards like Dark Hole, so you will play Time Thief Retrograde to basically stop your opponent from doing anything, and then once they play a spell card, well, now you have a spell card on your Redoer. Now you can potentially draw a card with it. So this card is just a solid, very powerful effect. Being able to search counter trap is what makes some decks like Muskets so powerful. And Time Thieves are better than Magical Muskets for some reason. I don't know why they released Time Thieves at this level when they held Muskets back for so long. For the extra deck, we are, of course, playing Time Thief Redoer. Time Thief Redoer is a rank 4 psychic monster, dark, with 2,400 attack points and 2,000 defense points. Once per turn during the standby phase, you can attach the top card of your opponent's deck to this card as material. Now, it's important to note that if you have manual chaining on, Redoer's effect will show up twice in the standby phase, assuming that you have materials on it. So what you want to do is you have to click on Redoer, and you have to read, and the effect that the card is attempting to activate on the chain will be highlighted in blue. So you'll see one copy of Redoer is saying, quick effect, you could attach up to 3 materials to do this, and the other one is saying, once per turn during the standby phase, you can attach the top card of your opponent's deck as material. So you'll choose that one. In my experience, it's usually been the second one that's the once per turn, and the first one that's a quick effect. But I don't know if that's going to be the same for everybody else. Just kind of keep an eye on it. You don't want to banish your Redoer because you only had monster cards as a material when you were trying to steal a card from your opponent's deck. This effect is really good, by the way. Being able to just take one of your opponent's cards from their deck and then either decide whether you want to dump it in the graveyard or hold on to it. Very, very solid, powerful effect. Could potentially mess up their plays. A lot of times, 1 or 2 triggers of Time Thief Redoer is enough to stop people from actually winning the game, in the same way that Silver Rocket Dragon is a way to stop people from winning the game. Because when you have so few cards in your deck and skills are so consistent and searching is so consistent, a lot of people will opt to run only 1 copy of certain cards in their deck. Case in point, I'm only running 1 copy of Flyback and 1 copy of Bezelship, even though they're both part of my primary turn 1 play, because I can reasonably search them. Well, if one of those cards is on the top of my deck at the start of my turn, and my opponent's Redoer steals it, now I can't play. There you go. If Bezelship gets taken from my deck, even though I was depending on it being there, now I have no way to get it back from the Redoer, and I could potentially be sitting there waiting to even Xyz summon because I don't have my combo line. So Redoer's ability to steal a card from the opponent's deck as material should not be underestimated. That is very, very powerful. The second effect is, as a quick effect, you can attach up to 3 materials from this card, then do one of the following things based on the cards that you detached. If you detached a monster, you can banish this card until the end phase. If you detached a spell card, you get to draw 1 card. And if you detach a trap, place 1 card your opponent controls on top of the deck. It has to be face up, though. That is stupidly good. So it is a non-targeted, non-destruction removal. That's going to be really good for dealing with Lagerlesk. It's going to be really good for dealing with Unchained. Putting cards on the top of the deck is insane. So Redoer is just an all-around perfectly good card. If you use this effect in response to the activation of a field spell or a continuous spell or equip spell, you will counter it, of course. So very flexible card, very good card. I highly recommend this card, and you'll see it in the replay. Next up, we have Arc Rebellion Xyz Dragon, and good dark win condition, basically. With Raider's Knight, just kind of negate everything on the board and then attack and do a lot of damage. Next up, we're playing Abyss Dweller, 2 level 4s. While this card has an Xyz material, if it's water, then all your water monsters gain 500 attack points. And once per turn during either player's turn, you can detach a material from this card, and any card's effects that activate in your opponent's graveyard cannot be activated this turn. This is important for Unchained. We're playing Utopia and Utopia the Lightning. These cards are very similar to Raider's Knight and Arc Rebellion Xyz Dragon. I think most people would probably play one or the other. I disagree. They function in very different ways. So Arc Rebellion Xyz Dragon will get you lethal in a lot of scenarios that the Utopia the Lightning will not. Absolutely. But Arc Rebellion can still walk into traps. So being able to just shut off your opponent's spells and traps during the standby phase, or during the damage step, is really, really strong. So yeah, I would play both and just kind of know when to use one and the other. Because, I mean, you're playing just Xyz decks, and this is just a rank 4 box. We have enough cards at this point that we can do this. Time Thief Perpetua. This is a rank 4 dark psychic monster. During the standby phase, you can detach one material from this card to target one Time Thief monster in your graveyard except Perpetua and special summon it. Excellent. This can be an Xyz monster or a machine or psychic monster, so just a really solid card. As long as you have a target in the graveyard, you can attach this and then target the material you detached. So, you know, it's really, really solid. You do still have to target something, so your opponent can respond to it with cards like DD Crow, but, you know, we're not going to be immune to interaction with our opponent. As a quick effect, you can target one other Xyz monster you control, attach one Time Thief card from your deck to it as material. That is really, really solid, so you could use this to, and this does not cost anything, by the way. It's weird to see an Xyz monster that has an effect that's activated as opposed to like a reaction effect that doesn't have a cost. Very, very strange, but still. So you can attach your Time Thief flyback directly to your Redoer, and then during your opponent's turn, you could attach maybe a startup so you can get it draw or something like that. So, you know, just solid overall. You could, if you want to do it the other way, on, you know, going first, you could potentially attach Time Thief start, detach to draw a card, and then during your opponent's standby phase, attach Time Thief flyback so that you have the banish effect. It just depends on how worried you are about your opponent's effects during their standby phase. And next up, we're playing Evil Swarm Exciton Knight. Obviously, this lets you just clear the board. It's a really, really good card, rank 4. Also, Evil Swarm Nightmare, since we're playing Darks, this allows you to just set monsters. This is really good because it says when your opponent special summons a monster except during the damage set, you can attach one material from this card and change those monsters to face down defense position. So this is really good against Lyra-Lusk because it allows you to set both, for example, the Barrel Canary and the monster that's special summoned from the graveyard, or the Sapphire Swallow and the monster that's special summoned from the hand. So it's kind of like a mini Book of Eclipse that you can access from your extra deck, specifically against Lyra-Lusk, which is what most people are playing Book of Eclipse against right now. Really, really, really good card. And then lastly, Malevolent Sin, because it'll just get you lethal. Okay, so that's the deck. Let's go ahead and take a look at the replay. All right, we are going first against Death Thief. This is zombies. Okay, so first things first, we have 2 Time Thief Regulators, a Chrono Quarter, and a Forbidden Lance in our hand. That actually means that we can't activate the skill, because we don't have a Psychic Monster or a Time Thief startup in our hand, which is surprising. But we don't really need to activate the skill because we have Regulator already. So we normal summon Regulator, use its effect. We special summon Winder and Adjuster from the deck, and we will activate both of their effects. So Adjuster, mill the Bezel ship, and then with Winder, I'm going to grab Startup so that I can actually do 2 Xyz summons in one turn. Next up, I'm going to use my skill to get another copy of Startup in my hand, putting the Regulator back so that I can have options for what I'm going to play from my deck. Xyz into Perpetua, then I'll play Startup to special summon the Chrono Quarter from my hand, then I activate Bezel Ship's effect, and I detach one material from my Perpetua to special summon it so that I can immediately go into Redoer. So this is kind of how you want to do this. Perpetua's materials don't really matter, so you make her first so that you have her, and then you detach the material so that you can start messing with your Redoer. So Redoer now has 2 monsters. We're going to activate Perpetua's effect. We attach the flyback from the deck, and we pass. It's our opponent's turn. We are going to activate Redoer's effect. We attach, and the card that we attach is Necroworld Banshee. Pretty good quick effect monster for our opponent, so it's good to have. Then we're also going to activate Perpetua's effects, both of them. First, we're going to special summon Winder from our graveyard, and then we're also going to attach the Time Thief Startup to our Redoer as material. Since we special summon Winder, we can now use this effect, and we're going to draw our Retrograde so that we have a counter trap. The opponent is going to activate Zombie World and then normal summon Samurai Skull. That's fine. Samurai Skull's effect activates and they send Glow Up Bloom to the graveyard. Now, Glow Up Bloom, for those of you that don't know, is if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can banish this card from your graveyard to either add 1 level 5 or higher zombie monster from your deck to your hand, or if Zombie World is in your field zone, you can special summon it from your deck instead. So we're going to chain Redoer to this. We detach all 3 materials. That allows us to banish Time Thief Redoer until the end of the turn. We're going to place Zombie World on the top of the opponent's deck, and we're also going to draw a card. So since we placed Zombie World on the top of the deck, on resolution, the Glow Up Bloom can only add to hand instead of special summoning. So he adds the Algol Mazera, and he's going to activate Spirit Grasp. He discards 1 to draw a card. He plays the Zombie World that I put on top of his deck, then sets 1. We activate Redoer's effect, and we return. Then, since we have our Redoer, during the end phase of our opponent's turn, we're going to banish this flyback to take the Doom King Ballardroch that was put to his graveyard as material. Remember, you can banish this card from your graveyard, target a Time Thief Exceeds monster you control, and attach 1 card from your opponent's graveyard as material. It's my standby phase, it's my draw phase. My opponent cannot special summon the monster from the graveyard if it's not in the graveyard, so they're going to, during my draw phase, activate Dino-Miscus to try and get Redoer away so they can revive. We have the Forbidden Lance, though. So the opponent has to discard. We steal another card from the top of the deck. It is Trade-In, so we're going to attach that to draw a card. Then we will Exceed into Utopia and make Utopia the Lightning. Now, the reason why I'm doing this is because I can prevent my opponent from special summoning Algol Mazera from the graveyard. Now, admittedly, if I summoned Arc Requiem, then I would have been able to win the game, but I didn't want to negate my own cards. Now, I do miss Lethal here, because I didn't put Perpetua into attack position, but that's okay. Alright, so the opponent is going to activate Algol Mazera's... they're not activating Algol Mazera's effect. They're going to use Algol Mazera's replacement destruction effect, so that they banish Algol Mazera from the graveyard to prevent Samurai Skull from being destroyed. However, they cannot special summon Algol Mazera using its own effect, because if it says if this card is banished from the hand or graveyard, you can special summon this card in defense position. They cannot do this because of Utopia the Lightning. It's still the damage step. So we pass, our Redoer goes back to normal attack points. They are going to normal summon a Unizombie, we will Book of Moonet, and that's the game. There you go. So we had lots of interaction with our opponent. We were able to banish their field spell to prevent certain interactions. We were able to steal one of their monsters from the graveyard so they couldn't revive it. We were able to negate battle effects. We had lethal very early, multiple Exceeds. We had a counter trap as well, and then we also had Forbidden Lance for protection. Lots of draw, lots of search, just a very consistent, powerful Tier 3 deck. My name is Serafi, and I was thrilled to have all of you with me.